Alright guys, so today we're going to be looking at an updated Explosive Life build for Gley. This is by far one of my favorite mobbing builds in the game. When this game first launched, this mod wasn't actually that good, but it has since been updated. And those changes have really allowed this build to flourish in the current sandbox. And once you stack on the most recent changes, such as the components, Arche Tuning, and Mutated Cells, it really does allow this build to stand out. But having said all that, let's hop into the video. So for this build, we are going to be looking at 3 different weapons. The first weapon we're going to be looking at is the Peacemaker. Now this is realistically just a stat stick. It does have some bonuses and will help give you a little bit additional damage. The main reason we like this is because it's really going to allow Gley to move around the battlefield really quick, especially if you put some speed cores on it. Speaking of the cores, you can look and see the cores that we have on this weapon. We definitely have 3 sprint speed cores. Outside of that, we did put fire rate on it, and we did do some critical hit damage, as if you did build this gun, it would be a critical hit gun. And if you look down bottom, when it comes to the roll, you can see we've not re-rolled this weapon at all, because realistically, as it stands now on this build, you're not going to be doing any real damage with it. Now when it comes to the second weapon on this build, we are going to be looking at the Last Dagger. The Last Dagger is just a great DPS weapon that does even better in Gley's hands. So when it comes to the cores on this weapon, we are going to be looking at 1 firearm critical hit damage, 2 firearm attack cores, and 2 fire rate cores. This is really going to let Gley pump out a bunch of damage. And then when it comes to the roll down bottom, we are going to be looking at bonus attack versus Colossus, firearm critical hit damage, firearm attack, and weak point damage. Now the bonus to Colossus damage is on there because this is a very general roll, and we do like to use this in general bossing, so that's why it's on there. Feel free to roll that off for something that you prefer if you're not going to be using this as such a general build weapon. Now when it comes to the mods on this gun, this is what we're going to be looking at. Again, remember that we are trying to keep this very general use. You're going to be able to use this in basically any content you put Gley in. So because of that, we're going to work a lot on the firearms base damage. We're going to add some fire rate. We're going to put a little bit of extra mag on it, and we're going to put Firing Fiesta. Now because we are using this on Gley, you can consider dropping off both Firing Fiesta and the expanded weapon charge. If you do that, go ahead and replace those with some type of elemental mod depending on the content that you're playing in. And the last weapon I want to talk about on this build is the Malevolent. I do think the Malevolent is a great gun in this build to get it up and running. One of the hardest parts about this build is getting it up and running and getting orbs on the map, and this gun will take care of that problem for you. It will basically nuke everything around you and make sure you get the 3 orbs you need to get this build up and running. The only real downside to this gun is that we only have 1 of them right now, so it's really hard to justify putting move speed on this weapon because it's just so vital for so many other builds. So because of that, you're really going to use this as an opener to get your build up and running, and then after that, you're going to be on your stat stick for most of your run. But having said all of that, let's go ahead and look at the cores on this weapon. Again, please keep in mind that this is built for Void Erosion Purge, and we use this gun over there all the time. So because of that, the cores are going to really mirror that. So you're going to see we have 2 chill attack, 1 firearm attack, and 2 fire rate cores on this weapon. On top of that, when you look at the roll down bottom, you'll see that this does really complement playing this in Void Erosion 30. We have chill attack, firearm attack, bonus firearm attack versus Legion of Darkness, and then I do have multi-hit chance on this. You can replace that for weak point. It literally just depends on how you want to play the build, but that is the roll that I have on this weapon. When it comes to the mods, this is what we're going to be looking at. Again, this is built out for Void Erosion 30. As you can see, we do have a lot on here to help this weapon's base damage. We are going to give it some more fire rate. We're going to give it a lot of chill. And then on top of that, we are going to put some additional magazines on here. Now, you might be tempted to take these off on Gley, but realistically, you're not going to be using this with your unlimited ammo. And because of that, you might as well just go ahead and leave the magazines on. That way you can just use this gun, put it up, and forget about it. When it comes to her reactor, the type is going to matter, and you are going to want it to match. So you will want a dimensional reactor on this. For the optimized conditions on here, the main thing you're going to want to have is hand cannon. You will be running around with your stat stick out most of the time, and you want to be able to get as much additional damage when you have that out as you can. But as you can see here, we do actually have handgun on here as well. And the reason I put that on was just to make sure that if I did swap over to my Last Dagger to burn the boss out, I could still do a lot of damage with the orbs on the ground when I was using my 2. And then down bottom, what we're going to be looking at here is a bunch of additional damage. We're going to be going with non-at skill power boost, and we're going to be going with dimensional skill power boost ratio. We don't need anything else, so we might as well just really lead into that damage and make this build hit super hard. On my original version of this build, we used the Slayer set, even though the Mage set had come out. And that was because the Mage set wasn't really that good when it first came out. But since then it has been buffed, and because of that we are going to go ahead and use the Mage set on this build. I really do like this because it's going to give us a bunch of non-attribute damage, and that is going to help stack this build's damage out even more when we get out in the field. When it comes to the rolls on the component, it's really not going to matter that much with Gley. She's not going to benefit from any of the MP that you see on the rolls that I have. But unfortunately, there's not a lot of really good alternatives on components right now. And it's not worth me going out and farming an entire another set of the Mage set just to put on Gley. She's still going to hit just as hard with this set, and there's not a lot of alternatives that I really care for on these sets anyway. When it comes to the inversion reinforcement, this is what we're going to be looking at. There's not a whole lot to really look at on this build, but we are going to go ahead and use Arche Circulation Tactic, Biodensity Augmentation, and then down bottom we're going to use Evolutionary Cutting Mechanism. This build doesn't need a whole lot, but unfortunately, even if it did need more, there's not a lot of great things in this season's inversion reinforcement to pair up with Gley. You can always switch out Evolutionary Cutting Mechanism for whatever you want. This is going to be the one inversion that you can put anywhere on the board. I went with Cutting Mechanism just to help the onset of the build, but if you find that you need something else from this tree, feel free to cut Evolutionary Cutting Mechanism and swap out something else that you enjoy more. So when it comes to her Arche tree, this is what we're looking at. We're really just trying to lean into the skill power on this board. So as you can see, we hit as many skill power nodes as we could. Now we did elect to get the purple HP node instead of the other blue skill power node. I think this was a good trade-off for this build. We also did pick up the cooldown node. We want to be able to spam her too as much as possible, and having this extra cooldown just makes that possible. And then in the upper right, we did use a cohesion cell. If you don't know what non-attribute cohesion does, basically anytime we defeat an enemy, we get a chance to grant non-attribute cohesion to ourselves. This is just going to stack out our non-attribute damage and ensure that we're doing more damage overall. As in most builds, the dog that we're using literally doesn't matter. I'm going to go ahead and use the Hagios Sheepdog just because it will bring me some extra HP here and there if I need it, but just put on whatever dog you have and that should take care of this for you. So now we're going to go ahead and look at this build. The first thing we're going to put on here is Explosive Life. We have to have that mod in order to make this build function. Outside of that, when it comes to her damage mods, we really tried to maximize our bucket distribution to ensure that we're going to be getting the most damage we can, and we're not going to be overloading into any one particular bucket. Outside of that, we're going to go ahead and work on trying to get our cooldown as low as we can, and we are going to slap on multi-talented just to help make it to where R2 is on a 100% uptime with this build. And the last thing we're going to be looking at is adding as much range to this as we can. That way those orbs are going to pop and hit as many enemies as possible. So this whole build is going to focus around Explosive Life. With Explosive Life, we're going to be detonating all life spheres on the map that we can. The good news about life spheres is that these will drop from everybody. It doesn't matter if you're doing the killing or your teammates are doing the killing. No matter who is killing the enemies, these spheres will drop on the ground. One big thing to keep in mind is that there can only be 10 on the map at any given time. So as more things die, there's a good chance that the spheres around you will despawn to make room for additional spheres. So now that you know what we're going to actually be exploding, let's talk about how this setup is going to work. When you pop into the match, you're going to want to go ahead and pop your 1. After that, switch over to your Malevolent. When you run into the first pack of adds, go ahead and shoot a couple of them with your gun. The idea here is that a couple of these spheres will drop on the ground. Your goal is to run over and pick up 3 of them. Now, after you get 3 of them, you can start actually popping these orbs, but you need additional orbs to be on the ground. So if there are no additional orbs on the ground, go ahead and shoot off a couple more shots with Malevolent. That ought to get some orbs up and running, and now you can start spamming your 2. After this, you're just going to want to continue to spam your 2 until you kill everything on the map. After that, you're going to move over to the next area and just rinse and repeat. The big thing to keep in mind here is once you've actually collected a few of these orbs and your bottom resource bar is full, you're not really going to need to switch out to your Malevolent. Realistically, you can just use your last dagger on the next pack of enemies that you meet. Your last dagger will chew through them pretty quick and start getting more orbs on the ground. After those orbs are on the ground, you're just going to continue popping those and rinse and repeat through the whole match. The only thing you need to be aware of is when you get to the final boss. When you get to the final boss, typically there are not a lot of enemies around the boss, so you're not going to be able to do a lot of damage with your 2. And that is where your last dagger comes in. While still frenzied, go ahead and pop your unlimited ammo and just unload on the enemy's head with your last dagger. This will evaporate that boss and move you to the next stage. When you're in the next stage, you're just going to rinse and repeat until the enemy is dead. Alright guys, and that's it. That's everything you need to know about this Explosive Life build. This is actually one of my favorite builds to use in the game right now. The only downside is it does take a little bit more to set up, and when you're going up against enemies like Inez or Bunny or maybe even Freyna, who don't really require any setup to get their kills running, you kind of find yourself at a disadvantage. But once you start to get your kills running, you'll find that you will be killing all of the enemies before anybody else even has a chance to. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you interested in this build, or are you somebody that's just going to stick with the tried and true unlimited ammo restored relic spam? Either way, I'm sure that you can agree that Gley is one of the top mobbing descendants, and she's definitely a descendant that everybody should have built. But if you enjoyed the content, consider liking and subscribing for more First Descendant as well as other gaming content in the future. And if you're interested in getting to know me and the community a little bit better, consider coming over and checking us out live on Twitch. We do stream 5 days a week, and we would love to have you there and bring you into our community. But having said all that, guys, thanks for watching the video, and as always, have a great day.